so every single year I would commute from the northern part of San Diego by Miramar Naval Air Station to southeast San Diego to attend math and science schools. So anyhow, my interests, one of my early interests was playing sports. I played basketball, soccer, and baseball. And of those sports, the one that I enjoyed the most was playing soccer. I played all the way from age 5 till 9th grade. And while I was in the 8th grade, actually was the best year of soccer that I had. I was on a really good competitive team called the PQ Express. And just about every single tournament that we entered into, we happened to win. And we won at the county level and got a chance to compete at the state cup level, where we lost in the semifinals. Now, the final year of soccer, I wasn't fortunate enough to make the team the following year, and I got placed on a team where I guess the work ethic wasn't really that great, and I really lost interest in playing. So I ended up quitting in 9th grade to pursue going into science fair projects. And so during that time, I did science fair projects, and I was fortunate enough to go on to compete at the county level and get a first place on the project I did working with sea urchins. And so anyhow, I talked about science and sports and some of those interests, but nothing compares to my love for business. And around the time that I was in junior high and doing sports and science fair projects, I started picking up a lot of business books and also motivation books like One Minute Manager, Millionaire Next Door, books of that nature. And I got into one of my first business enterprises, I guess I'd say, which was selling candy. And so I started out really small. I had sold candy like Airheads and Jolly Ranchers, just really small candy. And then I noticed one day one of the other fellow students caught on in my chemistry class, and she started selling the big candy bars like the Snickers and the Twix, and that really led to a dive in my sales. So luckily I caught on, and I guess upped the ante, and I started carrying just about every single candy bar that you can imagine, and I pretty much was supplying a good portion of the school with candy bars, to the extent really in the high period where I'd come to school with about $50 to $60 worth of candy and would sell it pretty much by the end of the day. And I just used pretty much my backpack to carry my candy and carry my books. And all went well till one day a substitute teacher saw me passing candy in class, and I got in trouble. She just seemed totally horrified by the idea of me selling candy at school. And I think she mentioned, like, what if you sell candy to somebody who has diabetes? And then so anyhow, I had to have my first trip to the principal. But luckily, because I had a really good relationship with all my teachers and I did well in school, I just got a light slap on the wrist. However, that day, because I was concerned what my mom thought, I wrote a letter telling her that I got in trouble at school during that day. And she actually kept the letter, which is really nice, and I still have it kind of as a reminder of my days of selling candy. So anyhow, I went on to go to college, and that's what brought me up this way to Riverside County. I went to UC Riverside to get a degree in business, and it was really enjoyable. College was an absolute blast. I loved the campus life. And the only thing was, while I loved business, I was absolutely horrible in math. And it presents a great problem when you're a business major, because there's so many math-oriented classes, accounting, math, and statistics. And I had a lot of trouble. And one of the things that really got me by was the relationships that I had with people that I played intramural sports with. I noticed that they were in the same classes as me. So I was able to study with them, and that really helped those relationships to get me by. And during my last quarter, I had a class where it was a statistics class where I was having a lot of trouble. But one of the things that I learned from somebody else was that the professor was notoriously lazy in the regards that he always used the same exact questions for every quarter after quarter and the same exact test. So to make a long story short, the final was open book, open notes, and I had the last previous quarter's test, and instead of getting collywobbles, I had coffins. So anyway, I graduated college and really struggled to kind of find where my niche was and my interests. And I went from just several different careers and also dealt with unemployment to deciding really at that point to start a business, which led me to a franchise that I got involved with called Maui Wally Hawaiian Coffee and Smoothies. And I decided to become a part of that business because it was something that I really felt would be great and enjoyable and fun. And I've been doing it for about a year now, working at events, and it's just been an enjoyable journey. And that's been my life in a nutshell, from candy to coffee and smoothies.
Master and fellow Toastmasters, of course, honored guests, and especially you, Garret. First of all, Garret, nice job on your very first speech. I know you probably had a lot of coffee wobbles happening there for your very first speech, because it's tough to get in front of a brand new group to do something that you probably don't normally do on a daily basis. One of the things I liked about you is that I love your voice. It's very calm, it's very soothing, it's very relaxing. But keeping that same point in mind, I'd like to see just a little more vocal variety, because it was sort of on the same monotone level, which is still a nice voice, and I could listen to it all day, but just a little bit of ups and highs and lows might make it for a little more variety. One of the things, this goes for everybody, not just for him, I felt that you cheated the audience in your looking around room, especially poor Jeff over here. You never looked at him one time. You were kind of focusing right here, and when you get nervous, you kind of look straight ahead and almost down to the ground. So you need to involve the entire audience when you give your presentation. You have a great smile, and when you talked about your first time involved with candy, all of a sudden you just lit up the room like this, candy, candy, candy. I thought maybe you took one of Lori's 5-hour energy drinks there. Couple things. You used some gestures, but I felt that you limited them just a little bit. One of the things that you do slightly, when you get nervous, you kind of hold it right here, just like this. Your hands were here a lot. You just kept holding it right here. It's nice to go out. You can walk around the room. You didn't pace around too much, which is good, but when you were there, you kind of did, I'm not going to call it a bobblehead, but it's very subtle, and I might be the only one to notice it, but you kind of go like this a little bit. Did anyone else notice that? Just a little bit right here. So you want to keep an eye. If the nervous energy, if you're making a new point, it's okay to talk to this side over the room. When you talk about the candy or talk about the smoothies, it's okay to move to the other side of the room. One of the best things, especially since you know yourself well, is that you didn't have to use notes, which I love about that. I learned that you make smoothies, you make candy and coffee, and you shared your own personal story. The part that I liked is that you shared about your mom and that she actually kept the letter from before. And in a weird sort of way, I now know that you're sort of a bookie of candy. Is this not true? But now it's all about the smoothies and candy. But overall, for a very first speech, you used no notes. I thought it was a great job. Once again, let's give it up for Garret.